Good afternoon, buenas tardes, bienvenidos a Que Pasa Mujer. Welcome to Que Pasa Mujer. Estamos aquí todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde. We're here every Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Next Sunday will be the last Sunday of March, but we kind of do a countdown every so often about how many days or weeks are left because we're always talking about our goals. So pretty much, January, February, and March are kind of like almost very done. So just make sure that you guys check on your goals and see where you are. In reference to completion, do you need to make any adjustments? Siempre estamos hablando de nuestras metas que nos hicimos, digamos, a fin de año o a principio de año. Entonces, ya casi el mes de marzo se termina. Entonces, le estamos preguntando cómo van sus planes. ¿Los están haciendo bien? ¿Necesitan ajustes? Entonces, este es un buen momento para tener esas conversaciones con uno mismo. Y me encantaría que lo tengan escrito para que lo puedan ver en diario y puedan hacer esos ajustes para cualquier meta que tengan, y no importa la edad de las personas tampoco. So we just want to encourage you guys to continue with your goal setting and, just track it on a monthly basis or bi-weekly basis. And I hope that I encourage you to make sure that you're writing your goals so we can kind of, touch bases with them and evaluate them and make adjustments as needed, because sometimes we might make a goal, but it's not a doable goal because life happened, and so we have to make adjustments. So that's just our check-in in reference to our goals. We're going to go ahead and bring Maddie on, and she's going to tell us about how she has given herself some grace, because I don't know if we discussed in detail your goals for the year. We haven't really kept up with each other's goals, but I know, and I don't know if you guys know, but I kind of practice the law of attraction sometimes. And so I think 2 weeks ago, we discussed that we should do a timeline, or like a resume timeline for ourselves. So I've been thinking about it, but I haven't given you guys an update because I haven't done it. But this past week, I found a video. I was giving my life to social media, and so I saw a video of a AI software that I'm gonna explore a little bit, because it will create the timeline for you. So I'm gonna give it a try, and then I'll share it with you guys, because I think it's something good, and I think that's part of giving ourselves grace, because I think if we can kind of think back about where we came from and like really look at it, because sometimes we forget where we've been and where we are today. So we have certain expectations of ourselves, but like you said, Maddie, we have to give ourselves some grace. So I think the timeline, should kind of help us a little bit with that. So tell us a little bit about your week and something good.
Yeah, like you said too, I want to piggyback a little bit on what you said. Sometimes, we think about life and we think things are going to happen a certain way, and then it never does. Like, even when you plan everything, things don't go exactly according to plan. Always something will change. So that's why we got to give ourselves that wiggle room. And not only that, celebrate wherever we end up. And if we made a mistake, there's always, time to kind of redo and start over, or set a different goal, because that one obviously didn't work. My week, as always, I always begin my statement with "I survived the week." It was. It was a tough one. Again, everybody was out sick, and we were short-handed, so the week was crazy. So it's always good to see how we handle those moments under pressure. And sometimes we think that we can do certain things, and then we just make it work. So I am thankful for that. I do want to mention, earlier this month, I lost a very dear friend. He was my first manager that I had in the banking industry. I've known this man for over 18 years, and he lost his battle against cancer, and it was a pretty tough loss. because we were close. So yesterday we actually lay him to rest and got to spend some time around the family and celebrate his life. It was the memorial was beautiful because we talked about a bunch of things that even as long as I knew him, I never knew about him. So it was nice to still get to know him. And we joked that he was a teacher. He loved teaching and passing down his knowledge and things like that. And I was like, man, even after death, he was teaching us about himself and the things that he did and the person that he was. So I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to be in that moment, to be present in that moment, and learn about him, and be thankful for having him in my life. So
Good. And I was actually able to see Maddie in person on Tuesday. We went to an event together where we perform just talking circles and we talk about culture. And actually, we've had a guest before, Michelle. She kind of schooled us a little bit on how circles work. And then we also had Olga join us in a previous show, but she's going to come back because we're going to talk about colorism within our culture as well. So that would be a hot topic. But it's interesting that you talk, Maddie, about just the things that happen in life and giving ourselves grace, because we're gonna talk about navigating the chaos.
mm,
And of course, we had to bring the expert, Enrique. So we're ready for him, Mark, whenever you are. Enrique Acosta Gonzalez from Leadership Development. He's our coach. He is our most popular male guest on Que
Oh,
Pasa
thank you,
Mujer.
thank
So we
Ray.
always enjoy it with Enrique is here. And that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about today, Enrique, the navigating the chaos, because it happens. And as I stated at the beginning, we talk about goals and setting goals and executing them and putting a timeline together, a deadline for the goals. But sometimes life happens, right? So if you could define for us a little bit, Enrique, about what that really means, like what is chaos?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me back. Always enjoy this time with you all. And as we're talking about chaos, Mari, our hearts are with you. I know the pain of loss. I'm sure all of us do, even those watching, right? So just we're holding you up. So chaos, complete disorder, and confusion is what the Oxford Dictionary says chaos is. We know it as it should have never showed up, right? That's so we know it as something that is just upheaving our lives to the point where we cannot any longer maintain control of what we thought we would. And so what I like to say around chaos is that we have a misunderstanding between our planned events and the fact that we're so interconnected with everyone on earth, right? 8 and change billion people. One person can do one thing on the other side of this earth, and somehow it will intersect us between the T-bone that we're going to get into. And it's just that connected. We are sharing more than just our dreams, more than just our aspirations, more than just what we want to do for the day. Someone left a house, they were pissed off. They're running lights and crossing streets and not stopping and yada yada. We left on time. We prepared the night before. We are poised to be there early. And here's this intersection and chaos, right? Because no one expected the event to happen, but it did. And so, what I want to remind everybody when it comes to chaos, when you say complete disorder and confusion, those two things have a solution. If you think about it, when you have complete disorder, you have to interject order. And when you have confusion, you have to bring some type of enlightenment to remove the confusion, some extra information or insight, right? So these are solvable things, yet and still we're overcome, right? So chaos is something that's always around us, but as long as we understand that we're not the only ones planning for the day, and we're not the only ones with the feelings for the day, we're not the only ones that are going through a certain situation, you'll understand that chaos is not really such a bad thing. If it shows up, have the answer.
Yeah. So what it's very interesting because I was thinking when you were talking about and you kind of answered my question, but like should we plan to expect it, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like when you come up with a plan and you kind of troubleshoot it ahead of time. So to be able to foresee the possible things that could go wrong, but of course maybe we didn't think about that thing that could happen, right? So that was one of my questions. Is it a good idea to expect it? And how do we like if you could give us something tangible, like let's say I don't know, I'm changing jobs or I'm buying a house or something like that, right? How
Mhm.
do I what are some things that I should brainstorm and write down to help me with the process and the possible chaos?
Yeah. So you asked a plan. So I wouldn't plan for it because you've already you've already accepted that something negative is going to happen. What I would do is that understand that if it shows up, how ready are you to respond? Because responsibility or response is your ability to be able to do, respond. So when you talk about responsibility and the ability to respond, is that, hey, look, I'm not looking for a T-bone in the middle of Ford and Fordham Road and I don't know, in Grand Concourse, right? I'm not looking for that. But if it does happen, do I have the capability to answer that appropriately? Do I have insurance? Number one, right? Um, and do I have it so that it kind of, you know, covers an uninsured motorist? Because there is such a thing, right? People go around and they don't have insurance. So these are things that you can kind of like ask yourself before anything would occur in that arena, and be able to respond accordingly. But I wouldn't plan for it. I would just make sure that I'm able to respond in a way that I'm not overcome by the action or the event, but that I can overcome the event. Now, you mentioned something important. Right now, a lot of people are jobless. So let's talk about the job, because that is and my heart goes out to all those that are at this moment trying to figure it out, because that's not something that you could either. If everybody can get a job the next day, it wouldn't be an issue. But not, but guess what, other organizations just closed too. So this is going to be a long haul type of thing. um, I will tell you that at this moment, the best of the best are going to get looked at. If you have maintained employment and just been happy with just what gets you by, that may not get you into another job around this time, because right now jobs are few, and the unemployed is many. So people are going to focus on the cream of the crop, if I could even use that. So what can you do? Number one, assess what kind of tools you have. Assess them, because it's going to be critical for you to be able to uh, put yourself out there and market as the best of the best. Um, if you don't have those skills that people are looking for, then it's time to invest, right? Sometimes we get a pause in employment because we need to be better. We need to get better. And it's not always a bad thing. This is the time to invest in yourself, and you should do that because it's only going to make you better. And look at different things that you may not immediately be able to do. Uh, Look at the different things that make you right. Hey, if I can't get a job consulting on leadership, I know I can get a job telling the weather because I have that background, right? So, how many things can you do, and how many things can you do that can get you some funds until you go and do whatever it is that you think that you need to do, right? So, um, it chaos will come. It's coming in the job scene, but you can answer those.
Yeah, I like what you said about the disorder and confusion, and that they have solutions. Because I think that's the important part is, am I going to panic? Am I going to, just do something drastic with my life versus let me sit down and be still for a moment and let me come up with a solution to the problem. And I think that is not everyone can do that, but I think we to really survive, and a lot of that people that are going through this have families, they have responsibilities. It's not just
Yeah.
themselves. It's when you have a household and you have two incomes and now you're down to one income. So just being able to make those adjustments. I know when I was married before, that was something that happened in my household. So we just did little things which were big, but cancel cable and just get Netflix, little things like that. I see a lot of videos on. There's an app that you could download to the phone, and they'll see all the memberships that you're paying for, right? So, like, really look at your finances and think that it's something temporary, right? So, we hope that this is going to be something temporary, but let's come up with solutions that are going to save money because we don't really need cable, let's say, for example. And every family is going to be different and they're going to make different decisions. But I think it's a great time, and Maddie, you can speak on this on a financial aspect, not only to wait until the chaos comes, but to be able to reevaluate those expenses that we have at certain times throughout the year. Because I think when chaos comes, we either freak out, or we freak out and we stay freaked out, or we freak out, slow down, and then come up with a plan. So it just depends on the type of person that you are. But maybe you could speak on that a little bit, Maddie, on the financial chaos.
Yeah, I think that the thing to keep in mind is that our lives are constantly changing. We constantly evolving. And sometimes, like when we get married, we're like, okay, I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to insure my house. I'm going to get life insurance in case the house goes. And then we have a kid and we have a second kid. But then you got to revise your life insurance because your kids are not included. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that a lot of ways that your life changes, and we don't think about those things because we're like, oh yeah, I got insurance 10 years ago, or I did my will 20 years ago. Well, guess what? When you did your will 20 years ago, your kids were a year old. Now your kids are 20. So
Mm-hmm.
the needs are constantly changing. So it's always a good idea. I think I mentioned this before because I'm in the financial industry, in the banking industry. you know once a year, once every 2 years, go into your bank, see what's new, what has changed, if you still in the best product for yourself when it comes to your bank account. Does the bank account that you have is meeting your needs? For example, we have a lot of the elderly people that what's important to them is to be able to write checks. So they want to get free checks. So are you getting free checks? Or, a lot of people that don't really write checks, and an account that offers free checks does nothing for them. They might want to get a cashier's check or a money order, or be able to do other kinds of transactions for free that's not necessarily checks. So again, it's always important to, like you said, sit down, review your financial situation, and make sure that whatever you're utilizing, it's the best product for you. Your car insurance, again, you may have, probably when you got your insurance, you had one driver or two drivers. Now you have three drivers in your insurance. Review your insurance and see if you could get a better pricing somewhere else. So, take, we're not sitting here saying, okay, write down everything that you do and do everything at the same time, but do take sometimes maybe twice a year and say, okay, at the beginning of the year I'm going to review this part of my finances, at the end of the year let me review this other part of my finances. So but take the time to do so, because again, life is constantly changing, evolving, and sometimes, we're here and then we blink and it's 10 years later.
Yeah, those are some good points, Maddie. Enrique, I wanted to ask you in reference to, you come in contact with a lot of people that have chaos, or you've experienced chaos yourself. What are some things that you have noticed that, especially when it comes to, let's say, household, like couples, right? Because sometimes when chaos happens in that household of a family, right, a spouse, um, maybe assessing, maybe the solution could be a little bit more complex because now you have two people coming up with solutions. So if you could talk a little bit about that, like how do we navigate that when it's not just my solutions and I have to discuss it with somebody else?
Yeah, so confusion being part of the definition there of chaos. When we approach something from, as you just said, my solution, you're already on a negative, right? Because are we coming up with a solution or my solution? Because what will solve a problem for me may not necessarily meet the needs to solve the problem for my wife, right? We're two different, distinct individuals that already come with a factory build, right? We have our factory build, which is how men and how women are. And then you have your what we call in play build. Our experiences have now had a hand in how we view things and how we express ourselves and how we address things that may come up. So if a couple can identify that they are not bringing forth my solution and start to focus on a solution, what would be a possible solution to this particular problem? Well, in my experience, this has worked for some. So let's write that down. In your experience, this has worked for some. Okay, so having all these opportunities for coming up to a solution, which one best suits our need? And these are, and you may say a play on words, but words matter when you're trying to get somewhere where the solution is completely inclusive, or else we will come to a conclusion that is one sided and someone's not going to feel like their need was met. So, uh, use the proper terminology, look at it from a holistic viewpoint, and take your experiences, validate those because they are valid, but don't treat the answer to the chaos at hand from a your viewpoint. Treat it from a holistic viewpoint where everybody can feel like, hey, that is the proper solution for this right now.
I was gonna thank you for saying that, Enrique. I was gonna say, words matter. Sometimes we don't think about it, and especially when you're in a relationship and when you've been with a person for a long time, you feel comfortable and you feel like you can just say whatever, but eventually, words do matter, and especially when you are in a chaotic situation or going through chaos or confusion, problem solving. You have to be careful with your wording to make sure, like you said, that the other person, also feels validated as well. Because again, going back to change, what worked for you when you were by yourself is very different than what's going to work for you when you are taking somebody else's needs into consideration as well. I wanted to ask you, earlier you mentioned, to invest in ourselves, especially when it comes to, changing jobs and things like that. Kind of dig in your little bag of tools. What do you say to those people who have had a career for many years and all of a sudden there's a huge change and, you have to change what you know to something else? Like, how
Yeah,
do we pivot?
a very tough spot to be in because that only tells me that you stopped investing in yourself a long time ago. You allowed a career to take the helm of your life. And that is sad, but often happens, right? I'll give you an example. I was in the Navy 26 years, meteorologist and oceanographer. I did that job for 26 years, but that was not my life. I was also an ordained minister. I was also a musician. I was also an artist. I was also so and so and so and so and so. So I had a variety of things that I had invested in to ensure that if one went away, it wouldn't be the end of it. Right. And so the Navy went away and I was able to do other things. And so let's say, hey, you're here. You don't have the time to go back and do that and invest in yourself here. So now what do? You have no alternative but to invest in yourself. The hard part of that is that a career in a particular field boxes you in to that's all you know. And it is a very lonely place when you leave it because I felt it, even though I had something, I felt it, a lonely place when you leave it. And now that's not a thing anymore. You may be older and you don't care to do anything else, right? Because we just say, I don't feel like doing anything else. Well, when these periods in our lives happen where things are cut and that's it, you're not that no more. It's also an opportunity to reinvent yourself. It's also an opportunity to live a different life. And most people, if they were honest, the life they have in the corporate world is not all that rosy. It's not you don't go to work every day and rainbows and skittles and all that. It's not like that. So most people are looking, hey, I can't wait till this is done and I can retire, yada yada yada, right? So you're already looking forward to something different. You just been kind of catapulted right to the to the spot where you thought you would want to be, and most times without a financial good footing, right? Because all these people that have gotten laid off in the federal government, they were saving up for the retirement. Now they don't have that. Now they gotta, deal with life. So what can you do? Um, if you have a spouse, talk to the spouse. Talk to your spouse. My spouse can tell you what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I may be able to say I'm good at this, and she'll look at me like, I don't know. Right? So talk to your spouse. Um, Baby, what do you think that I would be good at doing that could help us? You see, help us, right? Help us because this time is stressful, and I really want to do. Hey, well, you're good at so and so. Try it. Try it. And so the spouse conversation has to be had. If you have children, ask them. Your kids could tell you what you're good at and not, and maybe help you. Hey, you would do good at so and so, but you don't know this. So let me teach it to you. Become the learner. And And also, if you have other things that you can do and you know you're good at, activate them. Uh, like I said, this is an opportunity for you. It came, maybe you didn't want it. Most people don't, but take advantage that it did come, because oftentimes this is the pivot that we needed and we were afraid to actually enact in our life. The fact is, it's here. So, what are you going to do about it?
Very good points. When you talk about learning, Maddie's big on the educational piece. But I think, like you said, Enrique, even if you have not been impacted by chaos today, start to educate yourself, right? And we have so many resources available. I mean, we could do audiobooks, we could do YouTube videos that you could, if you really wanted to learn how to do something, you can really learn at least the foundation, or maybe 60% of what it really works like, on your own. Because I think, and I tell people all the time, like, tap into whatever your gifts are, right? Things that you enjoy to do, things that you've done in the past. Maybe I have a friend, she has a degree in mathematics and physics. She's a math teacher at one of the high schools, but she's really good at organizing. She's really good at going into your space and saying, hey, put your bookshelf here, put these. And she reorganizes things that you already have. You don't have to go shopping for other new items. She'll reuse the items that you already have. So, things like that, yes, maybe you're a high school teacher and you teach math, but you have these other talents that you don't see that they can produce money for you. And I think sometimes we don't think about those things. Like, I know for me, I own a tutoring business, and like, I've tapped into like photography a little bit because I like it. But I could potentially take a class and just kind of play around with it. There's like these two books that I wrote that I haven't completed. So these are projects that I've started that I haven't finished, but they can turn into something that I can. It could be a another source of income for my household. And I think we go into the survival mode, right, when the chaos comes. But I think if we can plan ahead a little bit for it, is ideal, as you stated, Enrique. Because if you've done this job for 20 years, hey, let's try something else.
Hmm.
Let's and I always think about young people today. I think they're really good at it because they really educate themselves and they kind of zone in. But even like, I see my 20-year-old son, and he has these 2 3 side hustles, you know and he's going to school. Um, but I just think that we really need to tap into that. I wanted to ask you, Enrique, with your leadership development and skills that you give people. Um, let's say I do have a little bit of money to hire somebody like you. Like, how do you get started? Like, what are some uh, deep things that we need to like dig into myself first before I can go and be an author of a book or something like that? What are some things that I need to like dig in? Because I think sometimes people start things and they don't finish them. So what are we going to do to ensure that I follow through?
Yeah, so I think that most people don't know themselves totally. Uh, we we are the ones that know the most about ourselves, right? But we really don't. Uh, I don't think I've ever heard growing up anybody tell me, tú tienes que coger tiempo y aprender quién tú eres. No, I had never heard that. Take time and learn who you are. Uh, they would tell me who I was.
Yeah.
You know, your daddy wasn't nothing. You ain't never gonna be. You know, that's what you hear. You know, oh, you're just like this person, and oh, I can't stand that person. So you already feel like they can't stand you if I'm like, so most of us have learned not to learn about ourselves. And so the very first thing that I always encourage somebody to do is to learn more about themselves. We're busy trying to solve everybody else's issues and problems and can't even get past the first 10% of ours. And that's a shame. You never get ahead. And so I use a mechanism called the being profile, which is a lot of questions, over 200 questions. But this tool digs in deep to the whys of what you do. Not it's not personalities, it's not habits, it's not this. Why is it that you are a particular way around this particular subject? And let's say vulnerability, right? I thought I was vulnerable because I'm out here and I'm speaking and I'm training and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And through this process that I myself put myself through, I learned that my vulnerability was interest based. So that it wasn't really vulnerability. It was more like strategic vulnerability. And that's planned. So that's not real authentic vulnerability. And so I was able to take that subject, vulnerability, and really dig in deep to the why I was doing things. And then I was like, whoa, man, that's not what I was wanting to intend with vulnerability. And so I was able to learn a little more about myself. So that would be the very first thing that I would have people mostly look into.
That's good. I think that's important because, like, for me, I'm a procrastinator. And as I've dug in a little bit, because I know I haven't done all the digging, but I remember being a procrastinator when I was in high school. So now, like, I always talk about my planner because I have to write it down as to the things that I'm going to do. And I wanted to get your advice. So I use my planner and I have my to do list. And I read the book called The One Thing, which is just kind of focus on the one thing, right? And complete it. But I still fall short because I find myself being moody about it because let's say I have to complete a task, but I find a million things to do, but to complete that task, right? The only time that I will complete a task is if I know that I have a deadline of midnight by Friday, then I will get it done. So help me with that. Like, how do I fix that?
Well, okay, so we set goals and we have these items we want to complete. Let's say you really don't want to do those things. So why are they a goal for you?
Mm-hmm.
You're never gonna complete it
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to do it. And a lot of times I don't understand why we do this. And I say, wait, because I have. Why do we set goals we don't even want to do? Who are we doing it for?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I mean by learning more about yourself, if it's something you don't want to do, why torture yourself to try to do something that you know you're not gonna?
Masoquistas.
Yeah, it's like it's like you're torturing yourself to do something you don't even want. So first identify what it is that you want to do and start making goals around the things you want to do. Because guess what? All of a sudden that a completion rate will be higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then always ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is it that this will achieve for me? And is it completely within the scope of what I want to do? And if it isn't, then reassess it. You're setting them. So you have the autonomy to change those, but don't put yourself in a position where you're never going to attain any of these things. Put yourself in a position where you will. And then all of a sudden, um, you will find more motivation to maybe step into something else because now you're curious. Let me see if I can do this. And then so I see societal expectation. Yeah, we set our own expectations. Why? Nobody else is judging you about what you did and you didn't do. Um, so we kind of do it to ourselves. But if we start learning who we are and what it is that we like to do, then those goals will accompany those things, and you'll see better results.
Like you said, Enrique, I think it's important that we learn ourselves, because sometimes when we're setting goals, sometimes we base our goals on, oh, so and so was able to do this. If they could do it, why can't I do it? But we don't know their situation and how different or similar the situation is to ours. So we can't set the same goal because somebody else did something. It's what works for us. And if you know who you are and what you're going through, you have to be realistic as well. We talk a lot about giving ourselves grace whenever we do something, and if we fall short or whatever, your situation, what you're going through, the hurdles that you're going through. So what you thought was going to take you 6 months, it might take you a year. And if you get there, you got there. It doesn't matter how long it took you, but you got to that destination. So again, it's important about you knowing yourselves and not giving up, because I think sometimes we give up really quickly, when we say, oh, I'm going to do something, again, the goal that everybody sets at the beginning of the year, I'm going to lose weight, and it's like a month passes and it's like, okay, well, I only lost a pound. Well, celebrate that pound because you lost a pound, you're a pound lighter. But we don't do that. Instead, we're like, well, I'm not losing weight fast enough, so forget the diet, and we give up. So I think we do gotta give ourselves grace, and okay, if you gain a pound, then we start again. Let me start from today. So it's important to know ourselves, to set goals that are according to our needs, and our own situation, and then also give ourselves grace and celebrate the little wins, because sometimes when you celebrate the little wins, it will help you in the long run.
Yeah. Thank you for that advice, Enrique. As you were talking, I also thought about that it could be a timing issue. Maybe at this time, it's not something that I want, but maybe once I complete this one task, then my next one might be this next one. So I kind of thought about that as well as you were talking, and I think that that's what it is, right? And it's part of the why. Like, why are you doing this? Okay, good. So you want to do it, but today, right now, is not the timing for it. Let's wait till next year, or let's wait until this and this is completed first, right? So it kind of like prioritizing those things. I know one thing that has kind of worked for me at times is just having an accountability partner. To ask those questions, to maybe we have a similar goal, so we might take certain actions together, to kind of get to that goal. So I think all of that is awesome. I'm definitely going to implement it. And I think, Enrique, you have a way of, whenever you've been on the show, like whatever you tell me, it sticks with me. Like, it sticks with me for 2 weeks at least, right? And 2 weeks is key for me because I'm gonna blame my mom that I'm an only child, but I get bored easily of things. So like, I hate routine, right? I hate, like, I don't want to wash clothes every Tuesday because it's a great thing to do because I do end up doing that, but in my mind, I don't want to do this one particular task every Tuesday because it sounds boring. However, it works. And so I have had to adjust to accept those things about me and like digging in. So whenever you tell me something, that 2 week period is crucial, because if I could do it for 2 weeks, then I can stick with it. But if it's something that I do for 2, 3 days and I don't do it, I'm not gonna follow through. But I just wanted to thank you, because usually when the times you always say stuff, is I'm telling you, it sticks with me, and then I repeat it to other people, which I think is, the whole purpose of platforms like this that we have, that you're sharing information with us, but then we're sharing with other people. So I'll take this opportunity to say hello to our viewers: Lily Matos, Tangi, Olga Torres. Tangi also made some comments, and I think we had some people as well. Consuelo Creatives out of Canada, and El Room, I think, from our Instagram account as well. So yeah, so I just think it's awesome that you can teach us, and I think it's important that we have to not be hoarders of the information and share it with other people. Um, so I think that's great.
Oh,
That you
appreciate
do
it.
that. Yeah, I love it. And I'll take this opportunity as well to share with everyone in the world, because this is Pot TV, and we are viewed in other countries as well. And so Latinos contribute to the economy $3.5 trillion to the economy. And then we will see as politics changes in the United States. So the next, I guess the next, I don't know how often they do these numbers. It will be interesting to see, due to the fact that so one of the things that I don't understand, and maybe you can enlighten me, Enrique, a little bit. Usually, we don't like to talk about politics here because it gets hot and heavy. But I know that we've had a lot of people that have been sent back to their countries, a lot of immigrants that have been sent back. But I don't know if we're just getting more media showing it, or have we really have the numbers kind of been the same even before the new administration?
Mm.
And how do you think that will impact the economy and the money that we help to rotate in the United States?
Yeah, deportation has happened all through all administrations. I mean, if you go
Mhm.
back to Obama, which you would think, oh, it'd be better. No, I mean, there was a ton take,
Mhm.
sent home. Um, I think what the difference this time, this go around, is that they won't be back.
Mhm.
The flood coming back in is tightened up, and if there are things that this administration has put in place to really hold accountable those that try to violate it. And so when people would, get caught a second time and sent back, that opportunity of being sent back the second time may not be there. You may be looking at jail for real. Like so, so those that is the difference, I think, in the enforcement around deportation. Now, it has happened
Mhm.
throughout as long as we have been a nation, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. So our numbers might go up or they might go down a little bit, Maddie.
Yeah, yeah, you just don't know. The media at this point, depending on who you're watching, and who's reporting, right? Because that is a thing. May elaborate on it because it speaks to the actions of the administration. You want to prove that what you said you were going to do is happening, right? And so, but if you've looked at the way media has been treated across the board, there is there's a pressure I have seen in the newsrooms. There's a pressure to fall in line with the narrative, and if you don't, you'll be escorted right out. So now, how are we getting the truth around all of that? But will it? It will continue. That's for sure, right? So that will continue.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. Yeah, because I was looking at that. Deportation has always happened. The numbers
Hmm.
have been
Yeah.
even greater than what we have at the moment, even though it's only March. But deportation has happened, and I don't know. It's just, I think it's a lot of exposure that's happening, right?
Hmm.
And that's why it goes back to what you were saying about educating ourselves and not taking stuff for granted, and really tap into our gifts, um, so that we don't get caught up in whatever the situation is. Because, like you said, a lot of people are losing their jobs.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh my God, panic mode. Like, what do I do now? Because even, it's just a lot of things that are happening. We just kind of have to be prepared for it. And if we could do something that we love to do, that's even better.
Hmm.
Like Maddie and her poems and her book, and
Hmm.
stuff like that, or the things that you've been through, Enrique, that you could, hey, I can make money off of this. I can
Yeah.
feed my family with this. I think it's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the change. Don't be afraid of the loss of one thing, because it only frees you up to get something else, right? Fear, along with confusion, as we were talking about chaos, fear likes to creep in. And believe me, it's okay to feel fear. Um, but courage always has a way of having its day.
Mhm.
And it's not the absence of fear that where courage is there, fear is right there, right there with it.
Mhm.
And you just have to think, whose hand am I going to hold? Am I going to hold the hand of courage and let that lead me, or am I going to go ahead and hold the hand of fear and let that lead me?
Yeah, because fear, that's one word I have studied. And fear is like everything, everywhere. And we just have to continue to, battle against it and identify it when it comes
Mhm.
along. And then, knowing what to do when it comes. I know I have a friend, she suffered from depression, and she said, depression, she even wrote a book about it. She said, depression is always going to come knocking on my door, right? Like, I know this is not going to go, but when it knocks on my door, what am I going to do? And it's the same thing
Mhm.
with fear, I believe. For me, I know fear comes in different forms, sometimes through people, sometimes I generate it myself off of situations.
Hmm.
Sometimes it just comes out of nowhere. And it looks like anxiety. It looks like maybe I probably eat something I shouldn't eat, or I call someone I shouldn't be calling. And so, is being able to identify, like you were saying, to assess and identify, oh, okay, that's what this is, right? Me biting my nails is a fear thing, and it's different things for different people. And then kind of knowing what to do with it when it's knocking at your door. Because like you say, we don't have to be there. We can put things in place to eliminate the fear or whatever that feeling is that you're getting. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Maddie, you was gonna say something. Sorry, went into the fear thing.
No, no, not at all. I was just gonna add that I think when you guys were saying that the same things that have always happening are happening, it's just the way things are being reported. But I think also the tone of everything has changed, and I think that's where the fear comes in because the tone is different. The way that things are being, the information is being dispersed to us, it's in a different tone. So the fear is different now. I think it's it's a time for us to be empathetic towards one another more than usual. Try to understand people's situation, and like I said, just educate because it's hard to live in a, I'm not going to say not in a situation, but to live in an atmosphere where people, because we, again, we're all human and we all do this. You tend to pay attention to what affects you. If this is directly affecting me, I am going to pay close attention to what's directly affecting me. If it doesn't directly affect me, then I'm going to put it on the side because I don't have to deal with that. But sometimes we have to become aware of everything that is happening around us and pay attention and be empathetic because sometimes, doing a little something can go a long way for the next person. So, I just kind of wanted to say that, just pay attention about what's happening and educate other people. Because again, they don't necessarily know what happens around us, to us, or the people around us. So it's our job to bring it to the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Maddie. So our time is kind of running out already. Goes by so quick, but we're gonna go ahead and get ready for Maddie's poem. I just want to thank you, Enrique, because
Thank
you
you.
always bring us some good nuggets to implement and to share with other people. And I think it's important, not only in today's world, but just in general. We didn't bring you on just because we have things going on in the world. We wanted to bring you on because we would have had this conversation either or. But it is good timing to be able to discuss these things, because it is a real thing and it can happen at any moment. People get laid off all the time, or people have twins and they were only expecting one, right, Maddie? So all of those things could happen at any moment, and they can be considered chaos. But sometimes it could be a blessing as well, because it makes you look at life a little bit different. It makes you realign yourself, and just go to another road, because that road that you were on was never ending, right? So, and I think it's great to be in a place where you can go to work and find fulfillment. Like in my business, I see fulfillment every day on a daily basis, and I feel fortunate that I can experience that on a daily basis. And I see people grow on a daily basis. It's just an amazing feeling.
And
So.
just remind everybody that chaos has a twin brother, and it's called opportunity. And you can pick one or the other.
Mhm. Thank you. I love it. Thank you, Enrique. Maddie, we're ready.
I think Tangi put in a nice quote on the comments. You want to read that before we go? Because I think I just peeped a little bit of it, but
Yeah,
can
she
you?
said. I think it's a Bible. I don't know. She
Mhm.
had two different ones, but she said, "I was young and now I'm old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging bread." And then she finally said, "Awesome show. Thank you, Enrique, Maddie, and Viviana, and all the viewers. Mark and Mark behind the scenes."
Mm, thank you. This poem I've done before. Thank you, Enrique. Before I go into poem, thank you, Enrique, for your information. Like Viviana said, you always make us think. And especially think about things that, again, not necessarily are affecting us now, but things that can help us prepare for the future. And we thank you for that.
No, thank you.
Thank you for that advice. This poem I've done before, but I think it's one of those poems where it started with a funny line, but it's about finding empowerment in who we are and finding our voice. So again, this poem started because somebody once said that I was loud. So I said, I am not loud. I am a woman, for many years suppressed, waiting for the permission of a man to speak his piece, because mine have been residing in a prison until today. But many women of the past paid the price so that I could say what I have to say. So no, I am not loud. I just have to let things out. My voice have been silenced, and in poetry, my words have found an outlet where they're not restricted and they can project. My vocal cords will rise like the speed of an HVGT from 0 to 270, creating the high pitch that you perceive as a scream. My words be ready to jump off my tongue like a kid with a new toy, ready to show off or just waiting to burst into the song. Kimbara, kimbara, kimba, kimbamba. But I'm not loud. I am the youngest of three. For many years, I had to learn to let my presence be known because the attention was so short that by the time mommy got to me, she was not shy to say, Dios mío, Madeline, pero ustedes me tienen hasta aquí. So I had two choices. I could scream or I could talk my way into her attention span, which allowed my words to develop, but so did my pipes. It is impossible for me to remain calm, and I will tell you why. It's because I am Dominican, and that is Caribbean, but with the twist. Merengue embedded in my hips, passed down through generations from abuela to mommy to me. My feet follow the one to count when I hear my favorite song, then swaying from side to side. I'm saying eso when I'm having fun. But my words hold the honesty of my people. Even when I'm speaking in a foreign tongue, you can feel the flavor in my multilingual tone. An outburst of freedom to know that even when I'm navigating through the English language bumpy road, accent or not, my opinion has worth, because I represent many generations that have been unable to speak up. So I will not apologize, and I will not accept anybody's request for me to lower my voice. So I suggest you all remain calm, have a seat, understand that I am not loud. I've just been waiting a long time to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie. You know, you should see Maddie when she does these poems, but she's standing up because it's different. I don't know if you saw a little movement right there, but there's definitely more.
I'm trying to stay still so I can stay in my square, you know?
We put you in a box today, Maddie. But thank you. That was amazing, as always. Thank you, Maddie, and I hope, Enrique, of course, we're gonna see you again. To be determined when, but Enrique will always join us. It doesn't matter where he's at. And I just hope that you guys have an amazing week. We will see you next Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Gracias por vernos, gracias por compartir nuestro programa con otra gente. Nosotros tenemos muchas personas que ven nuestro show que son bilingües. Algunas veces hacemos el show en español, algunas veces en inglés, algunas veces una combinación. So we love our audience. We have a large percentage of people that are bilingual. So sometimes we do Spanish, sometimes we do English. Just, it's not planned. It's just how whatever the flow is and the energy is and the people that are here. But we just want to wish you guys an amazing week. And we hope that it is, as Tangi says, have a great week on purpose. And we will see you next Sunday. Enrique, we'll see you soon. And thank you for everything, all the nuggets that you gave us today, because we're going to implement them. Thank you, Maddie.
Whether you're a seasoned designer, dabbler, or just starting out, this course is for you.
Are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me, because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be. A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.